want to welcome each of you back to the Dang Right, a Melissa football podcast with Coach Nally. I'm your host, Coach Nally. I want to thank Mr. Kramen and the duo of Max and Shipp for putting on this podcast. Max and Shipp are like the duo of Jordan and Pippen, one of the greatest duos of all time. Max and Shipp are bussin', baby. Love those guys and their passion to make Melissa great. Today, I'm gonna take this journey alone and ride solo. I'm gonna be like Wall-E in the Pixar movie Wall-E, or like Tom Hanks on the island. I can't think of that movie right now, but I'm gonna do this thing alone today. I'm gonna discuss some people and some things that are important to me and the kiddos here at Melissa, and really why I'm so blessed to be here right now. So I'm going to dive right into it. I only get 30 minutes. So, people have asked me before, why do I love sports? And, why do I love football? Really, I love sports in general. I love every sport, whatever's playing. I really enjoy it. But, I'm the head football coach and whatnot. And so I'm going to talk a lot about football, but when it comes to sports, I'm the middle son of three kids from my mother, and then I am second of four boys from my biological father. But today I'm going to talk about really my older brother, who is the closest to my age. He's about 2.5 years older than me. His name's Mike, and growing up with Mike. He was always the guy that could, run really fast, and he was a great athlete. He could throw, he could catch, he could hit. He was great at everything he did. And, I was kind of always in his shadow. So I always really wanted to be, kind of like Mike. So a lot of people don't know this, but, my parents were divorced, and we lived in Indiana, and we had moved to Texas. And my mom got remarried, and my mom and my dad weren't really into sports that much. So, but my older brother was. So I was not very good. I wasn't a very good athlete or anything like that. My parents would give us a quarter. We'd play Little Dribblers basketball, and each bucket you scored, you got a quarter. And I think the entire season I got one quarter, and he probably got like $30. So it was really like inspired by him to really even get into sports. But he's the one that taught me how to throw a football. He's the one that taught me how to shoot a basketball, hit a baseball, throw a baseball. He's the one that really, taught me, I played tennis, I played golf. And he's the one that really showed me how to do those things. But my older brother, Mike, was really the reason why I got started into sports and things like that. But another person that really got me going was my mom. So growing up, like I said, my mom and my dad really weren't into sports. They just, it was kind of like something you did when you grew up. You played Little League and things like that. So my mom made me do everything. She made me play football. She made me play basketball and baseball. She made me take piano lessons. She made me take dance lessons, all these things. And I'll be honest with you, like when it comes to the piano, I wish I would have taken that a little bit more seriously. But I thought that, it didn't make me cool. But my mom, the coolest thing that she did growing up is I was a huge Indianapolis Colt fan. Like I said, I was born in Indiana. My parents get divorced. I moved to Texas, and I was just kind of entrenched in that Indianapolis Colt kind of lore before I left. So I was a huge Colt fan, and moving down here, back in the day, you older people know, like you might have had like 5 channels. And the NFL would come on. If the Colts were on, it was so cool because on Sundays, I grew up in a small town in East Texas in the Bible Belt called Frankston, Texas, a great, great city with great people. But, one of the values of that town was going to church. So I mean, I went to Sunday school. I went to church. I went to church at Sunday night. I went to church Wednesday night. But on Sundays, which was really cool, my mom would we would get up, we would go to Sunday school, we would go to church, and we would come back home. And she would, we'd have chores and stuff that day. But if the Colts were playing and they were on TV, my mom would allow me to turn the TV on in her rooms, like a little 18-inch color TV, and she'd let me watch the Colt game while my older brother and my little sister were having to do chores. So at that time, it was my older brother, because my little sister I'm about 8 years difference. So I'm probably 8, 9, 10 years old, and she would let me go in there and watch the Colts. Now, if the Colts weren't playing, it was kind of cool, because she would turn the TV on in a living room. And once again, back in those days, TVs are big and they sit on the ground. So she would turn the TV on, and it would be, if the Cowboys weren't playing, it was normally a team kind of, like the Dolphins played a lot, on TV and stuff like that. You might get a 49er game, but she would turn the TV on and let me watch the football games while I was doing my chores, if the Colts weren't playing. So my mom had kind of a big piece of it too, in the regards of like enjoying it to the point of watching it, where my brother was actually doing it and competing. And then, my dad, I mean, it's not a big deal to him. He's just not into sports. It's not something that he was ever big into, but doing your best was really instilled into me early in anything and everything that you do. My dad is somebody that, anything that needs to be fixed or whatever the case may be and whatnot, he's that guy. And so he's a genius. Like I mean, we make fun of him. I got a million stories about this guy, but he's kind of like Tim the Toolman Taylor. Like, I'll give you a story real quick about my dad. He was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna soup up this lawnmower." And me and my brother had this really, really cool go-kart. And, he took the engine off the go-kart. He took the steering wheel off the go-kart and put it all together and whatnot and put it on this lawnmower. And he was so happy about it. He got the whole family out there to say, "Hey, come look at my souped up lawnmower. I'm going to mow the grass really quick now." And yada, yada. And he cranked it up and it exploded, just burst into flames. So, but make a long story short, he spent so much time trying to do that. It was kind of inspirational in the regards of he was passionate about something and he's going to spend a lot of time doing it. But it was really about work ethic with him and being the best version of yourself every single day in everything that you're doing. And, my dad works really, really hard. And it's something like I said, it's for me, that was motivational going through my sports life and my professional life. And then, my biological dad, when we didn't get to see him very much, but when we would go to Indiana and visit him, he was into sports. So I'm a Colt fan for a reason, and I'm a Detroit Lion fan for a reason. I'm a Notre Dame fan for a reason, and it's really that influence around him. But, we would go up there, and it was an opportunity. We would throw a football, shoot a basketball. We played a lot of tennis with him. And things like that. So that kind of made me enjoy sports, just that connection with him. But, lastly, it's myself, I loved competing, and I think it had something to do with me having an older sibling. And I wanted to always be better than him. At everything, he was always, like I said before, he was always the kid that could run the fastest, could throw the ball the furthest or whatever, and things like that. And, for a little time, maybe the better looking one that kind of went away when I turned 16. I became the way better looking one. And even now I'm superiorly good looking compared to him. But, it was always about competing, and I wanted to compete with myself, which I believe is the best person that you can compete with is yourself. So, really that's probably the people that got me really to love sports. And the football thing was really came probably, from my older brother as well. My older brother is, I'm not a big guy, but my older brother is undersized. He's smaller than me. I'm Shaquille O'Neal compared to my brother. And he always kind of had a chip on his shoulder that, he was going to be the guy that go out there and hit people the hardest and things like that. So, probably that. Now, coaching, when in my life, like, why would I want to be a coach? There's coaches that really inspired me and got me interested into coaching. So, way back when, I went to high school in the 90s. My head football coach was Scott Franks. And Scott Franks was somebody that was just stupid passionate about, just student athletes, just doing the right thing for people, and doing the right thing for kids. And, in that point in time in my life, I always felt like I was a good kid. I was a mischievous kid in high school, but I always felt like I was a pretty good kid. But that point in time in my life, I was going down a road where I was going to make some bad decisions, with my life. And, Scott Franks got a hold of me, and, he took a kid that was not very athletic, and took a kid that, was willing to be coached and wanted to be coached. And, he inspired me, to do certain things within my high school career to be the best version of myself during that time. But he's probably the person that really, was that first guy that I was like, you know what, I think I want to be a coach. He really, influenced me in that situation that much. The next guy probably is Tom Spears. Tom Spears, and I'm gonna go back to Scott Franks. Scott Franks, he got out of coaching, he became a principal and all these things, and I think he's a DAP principal now in Bullard. But he really had a huge impact on my life. Tom Spears is another one. He was my my defensive coordinator in high school. He was also my head baseball coach, and there was nobody as intense as Tom Spears or competitive as Tom Spears, and I got a million Tom Spears stories. I believe he's the head softball coach now at Elkhart. But, I'm playing JV basketball, and he is, most coaches don't appreciate officials. I do. Officials, I think their job is extremely difficult. But yada, we were playing a JV basketball game, and he's so competitive. He felt like the officials were in Troop America, by the way, Troop Texas, and they had a carpet gym that we were playing in. And he got so upset thinking the officials were kind of, being homegrown. So during halftime, we come in, and he's like, all right, boys, get dressed, take off your uniform, get dressed. We all got dressed and whatnot. He's like, all right, go out the back door, get on the bus, we're leaving. So we actually left at halftime. I believe he got in trouble for that one, but the next one was he got so upset again at an official that he made one of our teammates guard the official full court. He got a tech. It was great, all this stuff. But, just so the intensity of the game, and just competing, he was really, really one that made me think just, wow, like, he hates losing. It's not about loving the win, but he really hated losing. Another guy for me was Mike Cook. Mike Cook, he just passed away here last year, but he was the first coach I really felt like believed in me. And truly loved me for who I was, and tried to help me be the best version of me in my own environment. And what I mean by that is not get out of who I was as a person and who I was as an athlete, but he truly believed in me, and he let me know that on the daily that he believed in me, and that he really firmly cared about me. And then, if you know anything about Frankston, Texas, Frankston, Texas is going to be a kind of basketball mecca there in East Texas. So my head basketball coach was Robert Loper. And I don't know how many games this guy's won. It's probably in the thousands, I guess. He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame, Coaching Hall of Fame. Just unbelievable. He coached me in school, and then when I got into coaching, I actually was his assistant coach for a long time, about 9 years. So I learned a lot about him, or a lot from him. But the biggest thing for him was just the overall belief in fundamentals and the small details matter. Because if you played for Coach Loper, you could probably go through the practice right now in your head what he was going to do. And, I mean, we're going to spend, if we practice for 2 hours, you're going to spend an hour doing fundamentals, and then you might do, 20 minutes of defense, 20 minutes of offense, and, then you're going to shoot for 10 minutes of free throws, so he was big on that stuff. And it just, all those four guys really helped me when I was going into my coaching profession, and what really a coach needs to look like and what a coach needs to talk like and whatnot. So those four men really helped me out. But when I got into coaching, coaching isn't something that, I say this to our coaching staff, coaching isn't something that normal people do. Coaching is something like you kind of have to be psychotic to do a little bit, just because of the fact of, yes, your time is precious. And right from the get-go, your time is gone. My first two jobs, I coached football, basketball, baseball, and track. And 1 year I coached football, basketball, baseball, softball, and track in the same year. And I did that. I had that coaching schedule for about 5 or 6 years. When I started off, and then you go into summertime and you're doing everything again. There's no off time. You're just going. So first and foremost, like when I got into coaching, my wife is she's an inspiration to me just because of the fact of everything that she did. In the regards of me being gone. The first 3 years of me coaching, we didn't have any kids. And, my wife, we lived in Cayuga, Texas, in Tennessee Colony. And if you know anything about that place, there's not a lot of things going on in Tennessee Colony, Texas, but what a great experience in Cayuga ISD, and being there, and the people that I was around were very influential to me as well. But pretty much 3 years, my wife being alone, and then we had kids, and, my wife, raising our kids pretty much by herself. So my wife is a big deal to me in the regards of why I coach, because there is a purpose and a vision behind it, and that is to serve other people. And my wife is somebody that serves other people and, firmly inspires me and motivates me in my profession, but really in my daily life. But, also my kiddos, I said this the other day, but I firmly believe that the toughest job in the coaching profession is a coaching kid, and or a coach's kid. It's really difficult to be a coach's kid. You're held to a higher standard, and you're constantly kind of being judged by the outsiders and things like that. And they're just trying to be kids, just like everybody else. But my kiddos have really motivated me in the regards of, I see their drive and their passion. Obviously, they want to be the best version of themselves and whatnot, but they want to be a part of really great teams, and they want to be really a part of really great cultures and environments. So to me, that's a big deal, and I get to be around all these other coaching kids and to watch them and kind of mold into the people they're going to be. So that's just a cool thing, man. It's a cool thing when there's kids everywhere. And you're a coach. And then my faith, I'm not going to really get into it, but my faith keeps me going and whatnot within it. So, but when I got into coaching, the cool thing was I did it. No one told me about this, but I'm gonna tell this story. So I got into coaching, and you think you know everything. When you're sitting back and you're watching it on a Friday night, or, you're playing a video game or whatever, you come into a situation and you watch a game on a Friday night and you just think you've got all the pieces and everything about football and everything. And one thing I learned real quick was I knew nothing. I came in very cocky and, I'm going to be the best football coach ever. And, I'm 21, 22. I'm going to be a head coach by the 25, and, I'm going to be an OC by 23. I'm better than all these guys right now. And you're humbled really quickly with the understanding that you know nothing. So what I did early in my career was I got to meet a guy that really changed my life in the regards of coaching, and really changed me in the regards of what it truly means to be a mentor. So story goes, I'm back in those days, like, you had to go to schools to trade film. and we had played an opponent, and they didn't have their film didn't work, so I had to go and to the opponent that they played to get that film for that night. And so I go, it's late, 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that. I show up at this school to get it. It's right after the Friday night football game, and the school is called Grace Community. It's there in Tyler, Texas, and the head coach at the time, his name was Mike Maddox. And so I walk in and I say, hello, my name's Matt Nally. And before I could say anything else, he said, "You played at Frankston High School, didn't you?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I did." And I was a wing T quarterback. And I did not know this, but at the time, he was at Union Grove High School as the head coach, and they ran the wing T. And he's like, "Man, I got film of you still when you were, running the wing T, blah, 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 this, that, and another." And obviously that first encounter I had with him, was a confidence builder in the regards that I could really like start having conversations with this guy. So, and I loved what he was doing offensively. So, I started going to Grace Community a bunch. Like I spent probably a week there the first time, but over the next probably 3 or 4 years, I was at Grace Community once a year, and learning football from Coach Maddox. But Coach Maddox, he got me on to another great, unbelievable football coach by the name of Matt Turner, who at that time was the offensive coordinator at Gilmer, Texas. And I've spent hours with Matt Turner. The first time I went and talked to Coach Turner, he was like, "Hey, show up at 3 o'clock." And so I went at 3 o'clock, and he talked to me about football from 3 until 9 o'clock that night. I don't know if he ever took a break. The only thing I can remember during that time that he was talking was Coach Jeff Traylor is in the background running on a treadmill. And this room is like a closet. It's like it's in their old coach or field house. And Coach Maddox spoke for 6 hours. At 9 o'clock, he was like, "Hey, now let's go outside and we're going to throw nets. I'm going to coach you like I would coach a quarterback." And so we went outside, and like for another hour and a half, like there's like one spotlight on. I'm out there throwing nets and doing quarterback drills as a young football coach. So I went and talked to him many a times. And then Alan Metzel, who's now the head football coach at Gilmer, once again, just sat down with him multiple times and had great conversations with him about football. And I learned a ton about it. But Randy Jackson, who's now retired, he taught me a ton about offensive football, and his OC at the time, Richard Bishop, helped me a bunch as well. But, I just want to take a moment and really thank these people for what they did. Adam Cook, who's was at White House, helped me out a bunch. John Settle, who's now retired, he was at Brownsboro at the time that he sat down and talked to me, but just super excited about that relationship that I had with him. But then when I came to Melissa, I started a relationship with a guy named Shay Nanny, who was at Argyle and went to Argyle Liberty Christian. He's now back at Argyle, but this time he was the offensive coordinator at Argyle. And golly, I learned so much about football from Shay Nanny. And just, I went there to learn how to beat Salina. And I spent an afternoon there, and he taught me a ton about, the game plan and how to game plan for them and that defense that they ran. And, we were fortunate enough the next 4 years to beat Salina. And I think a lot of it had to do with those conversations that I had with Shay Nanny. But then, when it comes to me learning the most about the game and learning the most about just football in general, I learned a ton from Art Briles. He, took an opportunity it took me 6 times to go in and talking to him, but he took the opportunity to really sit down and teach me a lot about football and how, we make football really complicated when it shouldn't be. And that relationship kind of blossomed. And then Brad Willard, who's now the head football coach at Liberty ILU, he really helped me once again learn about the game of football in the regards of kind of, your imagination or lack of imagination is what holds you down in the game of football. And then, Seth Luttrell, who's now the OC at Oklahoma, was the head coach at North Texas. He really helped me out in the regards of, just understanding the game as an offensive play caller. The best advice he ever gave me was, do you want to be an unbelievable play caller, an unbelievable offensive play caller? Yes, sir, I do. Well, then you need to not go look for the new schemes. You don't need to go look for the new cute thing and cool thing. You need to go study defenses. So that's what I did, and it really helped me out a bunch. And then John Cooper, who's now the tight ends coach at Mississippi State, like he helped me out in a ton of ways in the regards of catching up. Offensive football is always evolving. I feel like offensive football takes about 12 steps, and then defense slowly comes up and kind of becomes even, and then offense takes 12 steps again. So, but he kind of has taught me to kind of catch up with where offensive football is these days. But I had some unbelievable head football coaches in my time, as a coach. Glenn Goen at Cayuga, he taught me so much just about the profession. And then, Les Ray, and then I had Sam Wells. I worked under him. He was awesome for me in allowing me to, and he's now the head football coach at Troop, but allowing me to be me and allowing me to make mistakes and things like that. But and then I had the opportunity to work under Seth Stinton. What Seth did for me was Seth has one flaw, and that flaw is he has the biggest heart known to man. And when he didn't have to take an opportunity or a chance on me, but he did. And I will always be grateful for that. And I will always be loyal to Seth for that. But when it comes to football, he trusted me. And that was something that I was very grateful for because I still had some old school mentalities. I was a big air raid guy. But he allowed me to be myself, and he trusted me. And I really, really appreciated that. And then, our superintendent here is Keith Murphy. And the thing that Mr. Murphy did for me was he built confidence in me. He's my superintendent at Frankston. And there were some opportunities at Frankston that I had and at other places and whatnot. And he was the guy that always brought me back to, he could ground me because if I'm a pretty confident guy right now, but he could always ground me. But I know this sounds a little bit wishy-washy here, but he always bred confidence into me as well. So I'll always be appreciative of that relationship with Keith Murphy. And the thing I love about Mr. Murphy the most is, and I think you got to have people like this in your life, he motivates me to be my best. And I think that's what Melissa needs. I think that's what everyone needs is, you get to live one life. So within your life, why not be the best version of yourself? Why not push yourself to be your best? Why not push other people around you to be their best? And I think that's just a huge piece that he has done for me. And like I said, I'll always be grateful for him. But, I always ask people about why coaching, why'd you get into it and whatnot. And so I'm going to give you my overall interpretation and things like that of it. But, to me, coaching is special because, it facilitates personal and professional growth by providing tailored guidance, support, accountability. It helps individuals identify their strengths and weaknesses. And, you can set and achieve meaningful goals. You can develop new skills, perspectives. You can collaborate and be judgmental in relationships. Coaching fosters self-awareness. It enhances motivation. It empowers individuals to overcome challenges. It can help, people unlock their full potential. The personalized nature of coaching ensures that it meets unique needs and aspirations of each individual. Making it a powerful tool to transform success for people. I say all that to say this, for me, coaching is about relationships. And I believe through accountability, you build trust. And through trust, you bring on love. And through love is where special, special things happen. And I hope that is something that I have instilled at all my stops that I've coached. But, here being in Melissa and being the head football coach for the last 5 years, going on 6, but, being here for the last 9, going on 10, I hope that my players and the people around me have felt that way. To me too, coaching relationships. I mean, the biggest thing that a lot of people don't talk about is, coaching relationships in between coaches. I mean, how awesome is that? I mean, I firmly believe that coaching is a fraternity, and we all have got to take care of each other. And we're in this egotistical, prideful job that we're all trying to climb the ladder so quickly and whatnot. And you don't have that opportunity to really enjoy the process and enjoy one another, So for me, like I said, the coaching relationship piece is so huge. So like for me here in Melissa, and I've really always felt this way because I've had those people I talked about earlier. They all, poured stuff into me, and they all took an opportunity to make me a better person. They all took an opportunity to help me coach kids. And Gilmer's a good example. I went and learned all these things from Matt Turner. Well, now I'm the OC at Melissa, and we play Gilmer in the 3rd round. And I used a lot of the stuff that I learned from Gilmer that night to attack them. Matt Turner didn't have to do that for me. That's being a great man trying to help the future of coaching. But that relationship piece from coach to coach, it's very tight. It's very, very, like I said, it's like a fraternity. I mean, we're here to take care of each other. And it should be that way. We should be helping each other. We should be, locking arms and trying to make the best decisions for all kids, not just kids that are in Melissa, Texas, but kids all over the place. So for me personally, that's a huge piece in the coaching life. So, but that's my 30 minutes. Shipp just looked at me and said, "Hey man, it's time to knock it off and let's wrap it up." So, I just want to thank you guys for listening to the Dang Right podcast with Coach Nally. I want to thank again to Mr. Kramen and Max and Shipp for putting on this podcast. And thanks for spending 30 minutes with us. And we'll be back next week, and have a great week. And it's always a great day to be a Cardinal.